Look what I have here. This is my plasma TV running the game at 24 hertz, 24 frames per second. Is this playable? It is surprisingly good, man. I am like, wow, especially the input lag is acceptable. I was expecting the input lag to be horrendous. So the only thing that bothers me is the stutter. So the game, because it's such a low frame rate, you see the stutter. So a stutter is this. So you see that the movement is like this because it's such a low frame rate. But the plasma TV has a lot lower persistent blur. So the blur is almost not there. So you see the shakiness, but the image looks clear. The image looks clean. And the picture quality is just outstanding. It's amazing. For what it is, it's just unbelievable. So can you play the game like this? Take a look at the responsiveness. So I'm driving here. You see my input on the controller and see the response on the screen. This is surprising, man. Like, I am like, wow, this is actually playable. The only problem is it is too low of a frame rate. I was trying to make the TV display 30 frames, 30 hertz, and it doesn't work for some reason. It doesn't work. I tried everything. Tried the CRU app, creating a custom resolution on the NVIDIA control panel. It doesn't work for some reason. Of course, I have no reason to play the game at 24 FPS on a high-end gaming PC, but the reason why I'm doing this video is because this topic right now of 30 frames per second is hot because of these games coming that are 30 frames per second. So on a plasma TV, 30 frames, 30 hertz actually looks and feels okay because it actually looks like 60. It looks, in terms of the persistent blur. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say persistent blur, go back and watch my videos about the blur busters law. So the image looks clear. The problem is you don't have enough information on the screen, so it does look a little bit shaky when you move the camera, but it looks clean. It looks clean. It just stutters. It stutters because the frame rate is not low enough. There's nothing cinematic about 24 FPS, okay? Every time I hear people saying, oh, it looks cinematic, the frame is, the game is running at 30 because it's more cinematic. Come on, bro. 24, 30 frames per second is just a low frame rate. There's nothing cinematic about it. It looks horrendous, okay? But, this is just a cool, fun experiment. And I am really surprised to see how clean it looks for such a low frame rate. This is impressive. Impressive how clean this looks. Unless I move the camera like this, too fast. So if I do this too fast, then it breaks. It breaks. But if I pan the camera slowly, wow. Because there is, of course, there is a huge persistent blur, but it is less than half that what you would get at with the OLED. With the OLED, if I play at 24 hertz, 24 frames per second, I cannot see anything, like nothing. It would be impossible to play. Impossible. This is tough to play, but it's not impossible. You can see. You can see, and it especially responsive. I'm like, wow. Look at this responsiveness. 24 frames per second. It's ridiculous. So it feels good to play. This feels good to play. Let me see if I can get out of the car. If I get out of the car and I just do some combat. So the animations are not, I don't have enough frames to see the animations of the character. It looks like pictures. It looks like a manga animation, a manga cartoon. You know those Japanese cartoons, Bleach and Naruto. It looks like that, but it looks surprisingly clean. I'm just surprised with how clean it looks. So yeah, man, I guarantee you, if I can make this plasma TV display 30 hertz and I play this game at 30 frames, that would be okay. That would be okay. But the problem is on the consoles. For example, if you get a plasma TV or if you have a plasma TV, the consoles are outputting 60 hertz. So the game is 30 frames, but the console is doing 60 hertz. So the TV is going to be on 60 hertz. So the problem with that is when you move the camera, you get double image because each image, each frame is being shown 2 times by the display. So you get double image. It doesn't look good. You need 30 hertz for 30 frames per second, 30 FPS content. It's mandatory. Even if you have a CRT. So if you have a CRT, which has no persistent blur almost, on a CRT, it's 60 hertz. It's not going to go down. The CRT is not going to go down to 24 or 30 hertz because the flickering would be terrible. So a CRT is going to be at 60 hertz. So if you play 30 FPS on a CRT, it looks double because each frame is shown on the screen 2 times. But yeah, I am especially surprised with the input lag. Look at this. This is insane. It's too good for what it is. But yeah, I can of course, do 60 and the game is gonna look fantastic at 60. But yeah, this game doesn't look very good, to be honest. Go back and play Batman Arkham Knight. Much better. Like I installed Batman Arkham Knight actually. It looks insane in comparison. I'm gonna do a separate video about Batman Arkham Knight because it's one of my favorite games ever. Especially the entry of Batman with the music. I cannot show the music on YouTube because it's copyright. It's just amazing, amazing music, and the atmosphere of the game is just insane. So good, man. One of my favorite games ever. So definitely go back and play Batman Arkham Knight. If you do that, this is gonna look like a last gen game. It's going to look like an old game that they added ray tracing. That's how this game is gonna look. Like an old indie game, low budget game that they added ray tracing to it. That's how it's gonna look. So yeah, let me know what you think about it. This is just a cool experiment. 24 hertz, 24 frames per second is not for gaming, of course not. But it is surprisingly, it looks on this plasma TV, it looks surprisingly clear. So I can see the stutter, but it's clean. It's clean. Aside from the stutter, the persistence blur for the frame rate is actually very low, surprisingly low for such a low frame rate. So I am sure if I can get 30 instead of 24, that would be a massive difference. Massive. Not a little bit better. Like 6 frames when we are down to 24, 6 frames is huge. So, but for some reason it's not working. It's not working. So yeah, I'll keep trying, but I don't think it's gonna work. It's just a limitation. The TV just don't want to accept that 30 hertz. It tries to do 29 and the screen stretches, and I try to make the GPU try to do full screen or 16:9. It's just not working with the CRU app or with the NVIDIA control panel. It doesn't want to work, unfortunately, because what I wanted to do was to compare the OLED and the plasma, but I can do that at 60. I might do a video about that. So yeah, let me know what you think, and if you have any questions,